love for all humanity, for I know that a positive attitude will always bring me success. I will cause others to believe in me because I believe in them and in myself. I will assign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith. It will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so I will become a self-reliant and successful person. All right, GM to that. Cool. Okay, initiative and leadership. Having chosen a definite chief aim as my life's work, I now understand it to be my duty to transform this purpose into reality. Therefore, I will form the habit of taking some definite action each day that will carry me one step nearer the attainment of my definite chief aim. I know procrastination is a deadly enemy of all who would become leaders in any undertaking, and I will eliminate this habit from my makeup by A. Doing some one definite thing each day that ought to be done without anyone telling me to do it. B. Looking around until I find at least one thing I can do each day that I have not been in the habit of doing and that will be of value to others without expectation of pay. C. Telling at least one person or your whole team each day of the value of practicing this habit of doing something that ought to be done without being told to do it. I can see the muscles of the body become strong in proportion to the extent at which they are used. Therefore, I understand that the habit of initiative also becomes fixed in proportion to the extent it is practiced. I realize that the place to begin developing the habit of initiative is in the small, commonplace things connected with my daily work. Therefore, I will go to work each day as if I were doing it solely for the purpose of developing this necessary habit of initiative. I understand that by practicing this habit of taking the initiative in connection with my daily work, I will not only be developing the habit, but also attracting the attention of those who will place a greater value on my services as a result of this practice. G to the M. Initiative. See, it depends on what decade you were born in, is how much initiative our society insisted that you develop. But now you must insist upon yourself to develop it even further. Some people don't even know the word initiative. Not on this call, but out in the world. Some people are just waiting for things to be done for them, but not here. No, we are a group of doers, action takers, and, world changers. I don't want to be too cliche, but I mean, in a way, we absolutely are, reshaping and redesigning people's worlds and their lives. So I know that happened for me, right? Riding the bus, 2 jobs, 500 credit score, no money, no time, no experience. Complete transformation. And super grateful, which is one reason why I keep showing up here week after week, month after month. You cannot get rid of me, folks. I love it too much. So pay it forward. Let's go find some more people and let's make a difference. Face our fears and chase our dreams. All right. Speaking of dream chasers, our next trainer for the day has done just that. Completely designed his life and continues to make it better using the program, using the idea, using the systems and processes that were taught here, and then, of course, improving upon them and making it his own, customizing it. From the very first meeting on a Thursday night where he got invited by somebody who was not necessarily the best at inviting. In fact, this person that invited Daine didn't want to do marketing at all when he first joined. He just wanted to do real estate. So that's cool. That's great. Glad you have that thing on the side, but no, I'm here for real estate. I said, but you don't know the comp plan. Let me show you the comp plan. And he said, all right, I'll call some friends. One of those friends was Daine Clark. Daine sat in the meeting, said, I don't know, it sounds like risk. I don't know, that's a lot of money. I don't know, never done it. That's kind of what a lot of our guests are thinking. But luckily, his amazing wife and the team that they've created encouraged him to take action, and he set out a goal. 10 years, 10 deals, let's go. And he got to work. Within 11 months of joining, he paid off all of his education debt, he paid off his car debt, and completed a deal, started turning everything around. And since then, he's been able to do 300 deals, all different kinds of properties. And he went from fix and flips and wholesaling, looked at rentals and went, nah, I'm going to go straight to banking. Developed a family bank and now provides safe, clean, affordable housing to people all over, and has shown the diligence and the professionalism to earn this reputation where people will just throw money at him. Make my money grow. Just throws him millions of dollars to put into real estate. The key is study. He ran the numbers. He has a system that he doesn't deviate from, and that's why he's so successful. And he's a big contributor to our team. I love the investment that he makes in our students week after week. So let's give a big warm welcome to the man of the hour, Mr. Daine Clark, GM.
What is up, my friends? GM to you and yours. Hope you're
Yeah,
having a
buddy.
wonderful week. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. Thanks for being here.
Perfecto. But yes, my
Yeah, so
pleasure.
I got some updates from some students. Pat wants to share something at some point in the call, but
Good.
yeah, we want to know what's the latest and greatest in your world, and what are you looking forward to?
Oh man, let's see. I just got like and it's funny because I feel like I preach this all the time. It's become cliche that but it's so real. But I had a conversation with someone who I just told a story to. It's funny. I was talking to somebody else, and they're like, and they were telling me like, Dane, I like your stories, and I was like, honestly, it's my secret. I
Yeah.
just I just tell stories, and if you read the Bible ever and through like a sales perspective as like a sales book, the they the story that sells is the not the 90 and 9, it's the one, right? The Jesus goes and finds the one and saves that lost lamb to return to the 99. But it doesn't tell you about the 90 and 9, it tells you about the one. And so when I tell stories, I like to tell stories about the one. So oftentimes when I tell a story, people have no idea that I've done 300 deals. Not even a clue. They just hear the story about this one person that we changed their life. We changed the outlook of whatever situation they were in. Anyway, and so somebody was telling me like, Dan, I love your stories and I was like, it's my secret actually. Like I tell stories about the one person that we helped. And I specifically pick stories that when I'm talking to somebody, I specifically pick stories that I know is going to jive with them or especially that I would duplicate. Like that's like the number one thing. But tell stories that I would duplicate, but also ones that I know are going to jive with them based on however the conversation is. I'm always, as I'm listening to people, I'm always thinking about like, okay, what story can I share with them? And it's interesting because I get referrals out of that. And I'm the story I'm going to tell right now. The people that I'm doing a deal with, like if I'm trying to buy their house or if I'm trying to help somebody see the value of me helping them, where they're the ones with the problem and ultimately will be my clients that pay me, I tell them a story. Um, and so it's crazy because I look at this one and I told a story to someone who told a story to her dad, who told a story to some guy at a museum. And so that guy was like, "Oh my gosh, um, can you connect me to people that can do things like that story?" And the dad's like, "No, but my daughter can." And then all of a sudden, that guy's talking to her, and then she's like, "Yeah, have you met Dane?" And so I'm trying to see if this person's on this call today because this is just such a good story. And this is just how much I know about it. Anyway, so this person bought a house on seller financing, had a balloon payment for only 3 years. They bought it in 2019, right? 3 years from 2019 is what, 2022? And so the balloon payment was 2022. However, the seller has been super gracious, super forgiving. And here we are in 2025, towards the end of 2025, and is like, hey guys, can you go ahead and like execute on that balloon payment? I kind of need the money now. And and so anyway, so you can probably do the math. If they bought this house in 2019 at what it was valued, and then here we are today, fast forward 2025, there is insane equity in this house, like massive. And their seller is just like, I really don't want to kick you out because I really need my money for something now. And so the buyout is like 582,000. This house would appraise for over 1 million all day long. And so they've got between 50 and 60% equity in this house and just need a long-term solution. They need somebody to come in and say, "Hey, I'll help you," as, you know, and these are the stories I typically tell. Like, yeah, I told that guy I would help him as long as I need your help, and I'll do the same for you. If you need my help for 1 year, you need my help. And it's funny, I say the same thing every time. And so yeah, so this will be an awesome story to help this family to basically secure their interest in the house they're living in because it's at risk now. Um, and it'll be a win-win-win for everybody because the seller is like, I really need my money, and so I'll be able to close fast. The buyer's like, I really don't want to give up my equity, and so we'll help them secure that. And obviously, I'll make something off of this. And even the people that, like I said, I talked to somebody who talked to somebody, like throw a bone their way to be like, hey, reward for having those conversations.
So in
And
an arrangement like that, do you do cash out refis also? Like would you let them do that, or is it
um,
strictly rate and term?
so now this one's unique because I typically don't do $1 million properties. It's not my bread and butter. I've done $500,000 properties. And so I said, well, this one, 500, you're in the 500s on the buyout, even though it is $1 million property. And so that's probably the only reason I can do this because when you're doing a loan like this, um, there's something called a rent schedule that's attached to an appraisal. And so you always have to get a rent schedule when you're financing properties that are rentals or similar to, basically non-owner occupied. You have to get a rent schedule. Some people call it a 1007, but that's even like a very specific like one that doesn't always apply depending on the property. I just call it a rent schedule. Appraiser will always know what you're talking about. And so on the rent schedule, let's say that the appraiser comes in and says, "Yep, $1.1 million. I see it. This house is worth 1.1 million." However, the lender always requests, "Hey, what's the rent schedule?" And I don't think it's any secret to anybody that like a $300,000-$400,000 house probably rents for anywhere from 2 to 3,000. $1 million house rents for like 4 to 5. And so it's not the ratio doesn't follow the value. It's, I guess you could say, Costco effect. You go rent $1 million house, the ratio of what the rent is drastically lower. So you can run into problems because lenders will only rent based on the rent schedule. It doesn't matter if I have a lease agreement. I think I can't remember what the payment on this one was going to be, but let's just pick a number. Let's say $5,000. And because this house is $1 million, when I ran my own rental comps, I was like, okay, yeah, I could see this house would rent for $5,000. However, let's say, like in Michael's question, let's say oh, Dane, can I do like a 75%, $750,000? Well, this payment on $750,000 house or loan, I should say, is going to be like, I don't know, let's just say 7,000. But if my rent schedule came back at 5, payments at 7, the the bank will come back and say one of two things. Either you need to, let's say you're going Fannie Freddie, uh, either you need to just qualify for the difference, make up for it because of your bankable income, and so we don't care that the rent schedule said 5, but your payment's going to be 7. Um, and so as long as you can qualify for that, Fannie Freddie, that difference, almost as if you're buying a second home, because this property will technically hurt your debt to income for the next one even. And so as long as you qualify, you're good. Or if you're going DSCR, they'll say, sorry, your payment needs to be, if the rent schedule came back at 5,000, your payment needs to be 4,999. And you have to have $1 basically of difference. And so they would say, okay, your payment needs to be 4,999, rent schedule is 5,000. And then they just do the math and say, okay, here's how much we can lend you, 500,000 or whatever it is. And so that's what you can run into on doing higher end homes. Now you go to other states or whatever, high end home, 500,000 is a low end home, or whatever, $1 million is a low end home. Here in Utah, $1 million, that's a higher end home. And luckily they didn't ask if they could cash out. But that's basically what I would have told them. Like maybe I could get you like 20, 30 grand, maybe, because we have to abide by that rental schedule. Now there is a trick, and I just had to do this on one 2 months ago. There is a trick that with the DSCR, that if you do the deal, you order the appraisal, and so let's use that example. The rent schedule comes back at let's just keep the same example. The rent schedule comes back at $5,000. If you have a lease agreement, let me do some math really fast. If you have a lease agreement for, let's say, 5,000 times 1.25, let's say you have a lease agreement for $6,000, and rental schedule comes back, oh, 5,000. Sorry, your lease agreement for 6,000, we're not going to count basically $1,000 of that. Option one is you basically have to decrease your loan amount, put more money in. Option two is you submit the lease agreement for 6,000 and you wait for 2 payment cycles, basically collect 2 payments from your client, from your tenant or whatever, from the person living in the house. You collect 2 payments, submit those 2 payments roughly 2 months later. But it basically has to be 2 payment cycles. And so could be more than 2 months if you're like partway through 1 month or whatever, but basically just 2 payment cycles. Submit that to the bank and they will take up to basically 125% of the rental schedule. And so that's what I had to do on one deal 2 months ago, because we missed it by like a few $100s. And I think it was like $400, which equivalated, I would have to bring another $25,000 to $30,000 to closing. And so I was like, if I just wait 2 months, which at that point it was like 1 more month because we were towards the end of it. I was like, okay, if I wait another like 40 days and get that next payment, because I already received 1 payment, then I'll just do this trick and do the 125% of the rental schedule. So sorry if this didn't make sense to anybody. I know it was a little bit advanced, but essentially there is a way around that rental schedule. It does depend on the lender, but this one we knew, okay, yeah, DSCR, and they will allow that 125%. We collected 2 payments, resubmitted it back to the bank, and they're like, yep, looks good, and then we closed. And I didn't have to bring that extra $30,000 or whatever it was, $25,000, $30,000. So you just have to be mindful of the higher end ones. And that's what I told this couple. I said, when they were like, oh yeah, I was like, what's your house worth? And they're like, like $1 million, maybe $1.1 million. I was like, oh, what's the buyout? And when they said 580, I was like, oh, okay. I think we can do this one. So, but yeah, I typically like to do your average Joes. I don't like to do houses worth more than the 580 that they owe on this one, typically. But yeah, awesome family. excited to help him. He's got a cool business model that that they're really ramping up, and they just landed some like guaranteed big time contracts in their business. They do recycling, and uh, and so yeah, super stoked to help this
Nice.
family help this family help themselves as they're building this business and secure their housing where they don't have to worry about it. Because I told them, yeah, no balloon payment, no early payoff fee. Like I'll help you as long as you need my help. You want me to help you 1 year, 3 years, 10 years? You go 30 years, I deed this property to you free and clear. And they were just like, where have you been? Could
That's
see it in their
awesome.
faces.
Yeah.
And so,
That's the difference we get to make here, folks. If you get obsessed with this process and you don't just have it as like a little interest on the side, you do an hour a week, get obsessed with it. Really see yourself doing this full time instead of the job, unless you love your job. But if you're just doing the job for the money, do this for the money. Okay, so I'm excited to hear from Pat. Pat, if you're in a spot to come off mute and share what you're working on and give these folks an idea of how you found it. And yeah, GM, welcome to the call.
Oh, good morning, Michael. Good morning, Dane. Good morning, family.
mhm.
Michael sent me an invitation and I really want to attend, but what's happened is that I've been working with the Chamber of Commerce and then I was invited to an event I live in Claremont and there are 5 colleges in Claremont. One's a graduate school. I was invited to the graduate school, the back to school event. And this isn't, I think, Michael, you were thinking it might be a real estate deal. It's not, it's a marketing opportunity. So,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So sorry, I wasn't clear on that. Anyways, I
The
went,
rules are the same. Like
yeah.
the rules of closing deals and marketing, the rules of closing deals in real estate, the rules are the same. So yeah.
Right. Yes. Thank you. So I showed up. I just set up a table like you've shown us, Michael, when you go to the shows and go to the home shows and all that. Mine's wasn't as fancy as yours. It was very just basic. And I spoke to the students coming to school and asked if they had any student debt, and they're like, "We are drowning in student debt." So I had a clipboard and I had a QR code and I got all their information. And so I have appointments all day today, thankfully, to meet with these students and, hopefully get them involved with Renata. So um, that's the reason why I can't make your event today, but I appreciate the invitation and yeah, I look forward to meeting with these students and helping them get out of their student debt. It's unbelievable how much they're carrying. Um, and so, yeah, that's what I'm doing today. But thank you so much for the opportunity to share and offer this tip. Find students that have, heavy debt and help them out. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think one of the important angles to take when you're talking to them is like, folks, this is a lifetime skill. Once you figure this out, you're not going to stop velocity banking or taking care of your credit or stacking those properties up in your portfolio. It's worth the time to learn the skill 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, because you'll be able to do it for 10, 20, 50 years. And so when you're talking to those people and you're saying, hey, we're going to show you how to get out of debt using assets to help you work, not just for a week or a month or a year, but for a lifetime, it really does change the value proposition of the Renatus education. All right. It's not a one time use tool. Figure this out and do it for life,
I
even
used
if
to
it takes you.
I used to tell people that, because some people I would meet them and they're like, yeah, I've been a part of Renatus for this many years, whatever it was, and they're like, I feel like I haven't done anything yet, and I just stop them in their tracks and I say, hey, wait a second, are you going to make any real estate decisions, or have you already made any real estate decisions since you joined, or are you going to make any real estate decisions regardless of being a part of Renatus or not, in your lifetime. And obviously everyone has to say, well, yeah, even if you're renting. Like I remember negotiate because when I joined Renatus, I was renting. I had never bought a house in my life. I remember negotiating the next time my wife and I moved after joining Renatus and like watching Chris Wilson's class on all the rental stuff and realizing like, oh, this stuff's negotiable? Like and negotiating my next lease for us to move into, negotiating the terms and negotiating the flexibility because we're like, yeah, eventually we would like to buy a house. And so I know the lease is going to be like this, but are you okay if we kind of like just in case because buying a house is sometimes we gotta close or wait or whatever. Are you cool being flexible? And the landlord's like, sure. I could tell that landlord was like, man, Daine like knows what he's talking about. Like this is kind of a breath of fresh air, a breath of fresh air. And anyway, and so he was super willing to work with us. And so like to me, it's like, dude, even if you're not going to go build a portfolio of hundreds of properties, you will make real estate decisions in your lifetime. It is inevitable. And so why not just make them twice as good? Why not just make them 3 times as good the next time you need to make a real estate decision in your life? Like, forget the portfolio stuff. How much money can you save? How much headache can you save in just using what you learn in your own personal real estate decisions that you need to make? Like, how much money can you save or make or whatever? And honestly, like for some people, like obviously, they're like, oh, like, I feel like it wasn't worth it. It's like, no, 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 no. It will be worth it, even if all you did, like I said, was make twice as good of a decision as you would have made.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it will project you into saying, oh my gosh, like it was that easy to to change my own personal situation. Anyway, go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, even on things like cars, the average American buys 13 cars in their lifetime. And if you buy a car like a normie, or you buy a car like an educated person,
Hmm.
over just those decisions, the education will pay for itself, let alone
Exactly.
real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, even like the first house that my wife and I bought after joining Renatus and renting for a couple, I can't remember how many years, but renting for a few years. And the first house we bought in that one house that we just owned and lived in for, I don't know, 5 years maybe, Renatus paid for itself because of what we learned and what we did, because of what we learned through Renatus. And that one house paid for itself, like many times over, even. Like not only when we bought, but also when we sold. We bought it with income potential because again, I never would have thought of that kind of stuff unless it was Renatus. And so bought it with income while we lived there. And I sold it on seller financing at like 8 some odd% interest when my interest rate was like five or six or something like that. A lot cheaper. And and earned income for years afterwards. Oh, it was great. So yeah, Renatus paid for itself multiple times over with just my own personal real estate decisions over these years. Yeah, it's helped me buy 300 other, do 300 other deals, sure. But that's what projects you in real life. Like once you do it once, you're just like, is it really this simple? Okay, let's do another one.
Do another one, and another one.
Hmm. In fact, I was just talking to a gal that same thing, conversation with somebody who had a conversation with their daughter, and then the daughter was like, I need to know more about this. And so this person's like, call Daine. And so this gal's like early 20s, like just getting started on life, just left her family's nest, if you will, living on her own. And she's like getting all this information from people in her life about buying a house and she's just like, I just don't know, and has all these hangups and what ifs and all this kind of stuff. I remember, because when you buy a house, it feels like, man, I got to stay there a long time. And I sat down and was able to tell her. I said, her name was Sorrel. I said, Sorrel, tell you what, if you go buy a house and have the mindset that you have, because she's like, yeah, I'm single, so I might as well like do something that I can rent. And I told her all these things I learned from Chris Wilson. Like, oh yeah, if it's your house that you live in, discriminatory laws do not apply to you. And so you don't have to take applicants that are guys. You can rent to only girls. And obviously if you were a landlord with a lot of, I can't remember what it is, like 3 or 4 properties, then yeah, those discriminatory laws apply. You can't do that. But your house that you live in, no, you can say, no, this is who I want living in my house, renting it by the room. And she was like, oh, I didn't know that. And so, yeah. And let's say that you decide, because she was worried about moving. She's like, oh, well, what if I end up needing to move because I'm going through school and I'm going through college, and what if college takes me somewhere else and now I have this house? I was like, sell it on seller financing. Get a big down payment. Don't be a landlord, because she's like, I don't want to be a landlord when I'm not there. Like, sell it on seller financing, use the down payment to go buy the next one in the new place. And I was like, what if the more times you do that, the better. Like, you will actually be like, okay, when can I move next? Because she's single, might as well. Like, what if she moved 3 or 4 times, had 3 or 4 properties that she had sold on seller financing, and was making money on all of them, and making money on the house that she's living in because she's renting out the rooms. And she all of a sudden she was just like, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm doing this. So, so yeah, oh, I could not talk my wife into moving that many times in a short period of time. But maybe in our single years or when we had no kids. But anywho, I do know some people that are like, yeah, we do that with our whole family. I'm like, yeah, you're a better salesman than me. I couldn't talk my wife into that. But anywho,
So what's next, folks? What deal are you working on? What do you need help with? Yeah, we want to start seeing a list of deals on the whiteboard. Go ahead, Pete.
I'm working on getting a second mortgage on my house because I took a $2,200 cut in pay, so my debt to income ratio is too high. So I'm looking at trying to refinance it. Jennifer Wright said they don't want to finance it because I got too many debts. But the whole idea is to pay all the debts down to one second mortgage to a payment I can afford. I could afford it before, but now I can't afford it. So I'm looking at how to finance that.
So Daine, you might actually be a solution for this too, because he's got over 50% equity in this deal.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, his house is worth over 650 and he owes like 3 something on it.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, do you want to talk numbers real quick and we can run a hypothetical?
Yeah, right now I just checked it yesterday for Jennifer. I currently owe about $237,000 on the house. I have a 5.25% loan on it right now. My payment's only about $1,500 a month.
That's
But
amazing.
I got a lot of credit card debt. I did a lot of upgrades on the house. I turned downstairs into a nursing home for my brother-in-law, who's 73, but he's also got cerebral palsy and Parkinson's, now dementia and Alzheimer's setting in. So I had to make a nursing home, keep him out of the hospital because it's $6,500 a month minimum, and we don't have that kind of money.
Essentially what he's saying is it's a duplex.
Yeah, downstairs, upstairs duplex. But it's really great we can take care of my brother-in-law in his last days. But right now, because I took a $2,200 cut in my pay, my debt to income, I should have financed this 2 years ago. I got like clean slate and everything. But I figured, I was doing fine financially. I had positive cash flow, paying off debt. I was using velocity banking. And also one day I get a letter, oh, by the way, next month you're not going to get $2,200 a month. It was like falling off a cliff.
And so how much do you need? How much are you going for on the HELOC or the second position or whatever?
Between $100,000 and $200,000, something like that. I see how much I qualify for right now. I talked to a credit union. They said I qualified for like a $60,000 loan. Another place said $30,000 loan.
Mm-hmm.
That's not enough to help me. That's taking a short-term problem, turning to a long-term problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got It basically just be like a debt swap, high interest stuff to low interest stuff,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah,
won't factor that in. They, I've had it where some banks will just pay a debt directly when they do a refi, but uh, nobody's factoring that in with when Pete's running his numbers. So this could be a
yeah,
really
that's
good.
the part that's
Oh,
frustrating.
weird.
The whole idea is to pay all this debt down that you're holding against me.
Yeah, yeah,
My
Yeah, talk to a
credit's
different person, even at the same bank. Like people should get that kind of thing. They're like, oh, like we're just trading, and and your conditions on lending are that the money goes directly to these things. Uh,
yeah, exactly.
and in some cases, and this might be what it is that they're worried about is like let's say, because lines can be dangerous for banks. They can say, oh well, if we just pull money from this line and pay off and give you this line, you can rack that line up again. And so
right.
sometimes the conditions they might be like, okay, well, we're going to pay that off, but you need to close that line as conditional to our financing so that we give you this, X amount or whatever, because we don't want to put you in the same position again or allow you to be in the same position again. So
Exactly. Exactly. That's the whole idea, but they want to discuss it. Well, we think your debt to income ratio is too
yeah.
high. But I'm using it to pay off the debt, So it's not like it's going to be there along with your loan.
Hmm.
They can send the money directly to the credit card company. I don't care.
Yeah.
But now the house is up to standard. We've got a nursing home. We don't need to do any more upgrades on the house. So all we want to do now is just start doing velocity banking and get out of debt.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's completely rehabbed the whole thing, and it was going to be a sale, but then he ended up realizing he wanted it, and so he kept it.
Hmm.
Anyway, yeah, I mean,
We're saving
60%.
$5,000 a month and living a rent free. Pretty good deal.
Yeah. You said you're renting out the nursing home, the other
No,
half?
Yeah,
my brother-in-law is living down there.
Oh, and he's contributing basically towards the payment.
We took $80,000 from selling his mother's home and used it for the down payment on this house. That's why he got so much equity.
Oh, nice.
He's been a victim of fraud so many times. They've gotten over $30,000 out of his bank accounts. There's no way I'm putting 80 grand in a bank account and watch it go to India one night.
Oh my gosh.
They've done it. They've actually gotten to his account at 2 in the morning, transfer all his money to India.
Wow.
Robin put a question in the chat. Pete, can his insurance pay you for caregiving?
Ooh.
I don't know. I wonder if there's a program,
He,
like a hospice program or something like
Yeah,
that.
somebody was telling me
does he have
about,
like a long-term insurance?
No, he's just a broke guy with Medicare.
Oh, okay.
Ask
somebody was
Jennifer
telling me
Wright.
about, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say, ask Jennifer Wright, because she works with a lot of people with hospice, the chaplain. She works with a lot of people in different, of the medical field. She might be able to give you some guidance of where to go.
Yeah, I cannot remember
Jennifer
who,
Wright's actually one doing my mortgage right now. I should ask her some questions about
yeah.
that. The alternative income sources.
I forget who it was, but somebody was telling me about this program where you have to go like take a class and then take a test or something like that. But basically it allows you to be licensed for the in-home care. And so you can get that in order to help your own family. Oh, who was telling me?
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean,
Who was telling me
technically,
about
Pete,
this?
Pete is qualified. He invented a medical procedure that saves lives. The dude knows how to do it. You just need to get wherever.
Yeah, you could,
So
Pete, you could actually go to your, I don't know, public health here in Illinois. It's like, the
Health department.
health department, and then they're the one that comes and survey your property and stuff. And I was actually looking into that because I had, this was like years ago, and I have this property, and I check see if because this is something that I want to tap into, also. And like the group home, so you can make it into like a group home. And even if there's only one, and basically you do have to get licensing and all that stuff. And there's a process to it. But you know it's that would be your first start, and ask him what the guidelines would be, and then you go through for that. Here in Illinois, we have a company for doing all this stuff, like for access to like handicap, is it a handicap friendly and all that stuff. So we have a company here in one of my resources that they actually come in and then they'll come for the inspection for, the when you get your licensing and stuff.
No,
So
no.
Yeah, could be an option.
I looked
So-
into something like that with my taking care of my
Mhm.
dad, but we couldn't do it because they wanted him to sign all his property over to the county as a condition of getting help.
Yeah, there
So
is you might have to go through. I know there's like if they're going to a nursing home, they do have the spend down like the 5 years, look back, what they did with their money. But what your, thing is, you might be able to tap into the government. I don't know how much money he's making, like getting every month, and if he's getting some kind of pension or something, did you have a qualification for for the government to, for them to pay for it. But I know in Illinois they do that. It's just not as good as like in California. So the California actually, you know, pays pretty good for that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
I have some friends that are actually have group homes over there and here in Illinois too, but they're trying to get out of Illinois because they don't make as much money.
Interesting. Worth
Mhm.
looking into.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing that Steve is putting in the chat is disability from Social Security.
yeah, he's just
But-
getting a modest pension, about $800 a month from Social Security, not much.
So the question is, Daine, with your method, could you refi instead of giving him a second? Could you just
Mhm.
take the first that is at 50%?
And just pay it off, but also give cash back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
And
doesn't have to be me, just anybody. Anybody could step in and do this. Um, but yeah, I mean, would you say it was worth like 600, give or take?
650. Yeah.
650. And so let's say we were trying to get 400,000 out of it. Um, so it pays off the first and gives more than 100 grand. Then yeah, totally doable. And like I said, anybody could step in and do this. And I know that doesn't help me to say that, but
Yeah. She said my credit report's trash because I maxed out my credit lines, but all the payments were caught up, not behind on anything. I do have
yeah,
one late payment for RC Willie's because they won't let me make automatic payments. I got to remember to send a check in every month. And sometimes I forget.
yeah. But yeah, they should be able to run scenarios to say, oh, well, if all these are paid off, here's what the score will be. And
Don't
so
take
they'll
no for an answer, Pete.
make, yeah,
Yeah.
they should be able to run scenarios like that. And
Well,
yeah.
if Jennifer falls through, I'll contact you because I want to keep it in the company, in the family. That's why
Mhm.
I was talking to Jennifer Wright because she's gone to a lot of meetings in Ogden. You want to support your local community.
Mhm.
And if you have
Yeah.
people that want to make money, I would rather give you my interest than the banks. I hate Wells Fargo.
Yeah. So just looking at like let's say we did 400,000. Let's see. I know rates have been coming down, so let's see what this looks like. But yeah, I mean, you said the payment's 1,500 right now.
Yeah.
Is that out the door? Taxes and insurance?
No, it's 16.99 with PTI,
Okay, yeah.
but the interest principal is about 1,500.
Yeah. I mean, with current rates, it looks like the payment like doubles. But hey, maybe that's still a good deal. We can chat about it if you want. But like I said, even if like let's say you have a family member or something like that. In fact, the first deal I ever tried to do on this method, I basically showed her what we would do and how it would work, all that kind of stuff. And it's funny because she called me back like 2 days later and said, "Hey, thank you for all the information. I'm just gonna have my aunt, I think that's what she said. I'm just gonna have my aunt do exactly what you just said, and she's gonna do it for free." And I was just like, well, I basically not free, but she's gonna pay basically just pay the exact interest rate. Obviously, I do it as a business. And so I had to charge and make something, you know, some kind of spread myself.
Yeah. Your
But
time's worth money.
which is why I say, like, hey, like, if you can, just because I know you, I know this doesn't help my pocketbook, but find that person that's like, hey, you know what? I'll just do it for you, and you just pay the mortgage. Could save you money. You know, just you're a Renata student, so take the best option available to you first. And so yeah, if somebody will just step in and do that, basically the same, you know, the Daine model could save you money. But if not, then yeah, I'll do it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, from what I can see, it looks like the payment's going to about double though.
So about
at
3,000 a
today's
month.
rates. Yeah. And then whatever
But you're
taxes
already
and
paying
insurance.
over 2,000 a month to your credit cards and everything else.
Oh, the interest alone's over $2,000 a month, and the
Oh, and all the,
savings.
yeah, so maybe it's a better
big
deal
savings
anyway.
right there. I'm spending about $5,000-6,000 a month on servicing debt and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So-
maybe because if I assume taxes and insurance roughly, it's like 3,800 out the door.
So like a normal house payment for normal people.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, except 400,000 is no longer normal. Now it's
Yeah.
subnormal. I remember when our first house on Hooper, we built it for $24,000
Yeah.
and sold it for 38 5 years later. Thought it was a big deal. Now look at the place. That same house is probably almost
Yeah.
a $500,000 house.
Still the same sticks and bricks.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
So folks, this is a good lesson and exercise in trying to solve a client's problem, right? It's if you shy away from conversations like this, you know, how much do you have to pay? Who do you owe? How much do you owe? Who's got a disability? What is that? If you're not willing to ask these questions to do the gathering, you're not going to make it. You should just go buy shares of a REIT and put your okay. You got to be
You know, you can be a
asking
connector
questions.
too.
Yeah,
Connect these
exactly.
people to people that know something they can do. Like I found somebody drowning, I turn them over to Dane or somebody in our community that could help them with that particular problem. You know, like foundation problems, know people that do concrete work, stuff like that. Be a connector.
Totally.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing, Pete. Tamara's got a question. Go ahead, T-Bone. What's up?
Um, GM everyone. All right, so two questions. So I have this little house that I bought. It's like it's it's not so down the lines of an area I'd buy in. It just fell into my lap. So long story short, it's the value is like 65,000. My agent is telling me I have a lease option tenant in there, and um I think I'm all in for $40,000. So she's ready to execute the option. I'm trying to refinance it out and I'm having a challenge because the value's so low. So I'm trying to figure out what my best options are. And I also, like, yeah, I don't really know of a mortgage person who would take this because it's so low unless a small bank or a line of credit. Is there any other ideas that you could
Oh,
figure?
is this the one that you've been working on?
Yeah, it's like yes.
I thought you said you had somebody that was going to do it finally.
I did, but I thought the value I thought the value was a little higher. I thought it was closer to 85,000, and then I had the agent that I work with double check last night and he's telling me it's coming closer to 65. So
Okay.
that's a big difference.
So 65, and you said that you're all in at 40. And so 40, actually, how much do you owe on it?
About 40, 45.
Okay. So let's say 45,000 divided by 65,000. I mean, that's 67% still.
Yeah, I'm not so much complaining. I mean, it's been a good little cash flowing house and it still will be. I just have to figure out how to get the 40. I have a lender in it for 40
Yeah.
and I have to get her out.
So if you can't go conventional, just start pitching this private and just say, hey,
Yeah.
anybody want to make some money on $44,000? You know, people in your network or people in the area. Um, and so quick story. I had a guy that I was pitching money to. The premise of the conversation was, I want to put money to work. He's like, you guys know my 4 boxes. He's like, I'm passive. I want to twiddle my thumbs, have deals presented to me. I said, great, let's talk. My favorite question to ask in those conversations is like, oh, what kind of a return would turn your head? And he said 20%. So I was just like, oh boy. Well, and I said, that's possible. However, here's what you have to do to get that. Basically, box number 2, you got to be a little more active if you want that kind of a return, because most people are not going to sit here and be like, hey, let me farm this out, give you 20%. I mean, yeah, maybe some people do it, but it's higher risk. And so I told him, okay, here's what you're going to have to do in exchange for 20%. Either increase your risk or increase your time. You go find the deal yourself and put your money in, that kind of stuff. Or you're like last position in, in chain of title, that kind of stuff. And maybe you can justify getting 20%. Or if you want to virtually guarantee your paycheck, you can make like 10%. And he loved that phrase. He was just like, oh, okay. No, I don't want to put my money at risk. He goes, yeah, I think I like the 10% or whatever I can't remember what I said at the time, but lower, like half. I probably said 10%. And so you can go have that kind of conversation, because in your case, dude, somebody that gives you $44,000, that risk is pretty low. Not only do you have a buyer that's making their payment, that has skin in the game, but they're in a 67% loan to value, or let's call it 68% loan to value at the end of the day. And so they got double whammy here, where good equity position and your client is financially, how'd you say that? Your client is financially obligated, yes, but also it's their house. In my experience, people that have houses they live in a house that they live in and have homes that they don't, so in other words, portfolio of homes, if anything happens, they don't make the payments on the houses that they're not living in, or houses that they're not living in, before they miss the payment on the house that they are living in. And so you've got technically you got triple whammy. One, you've got the person living there that protects this person's income. 2, the loan to value is amazing. And so if anybody does renege on this and doesn't make payment and give that person money, they take that house and turn around and sell it for 65, like, good deal. And obviously you don't want to lose. Let's say your client stops paying, you don't want to just stop paying that person that gives you the $44,000. And so you'll figure it out. Be like, yeah, I'll get somebody new in there. I will foreclose on the client and turn around and sell it to another person down the road, whatever, because of your interest in this, you tomorrow. And so whoever this person is, like, you can be like, dude, this is like 3 deep, where it's like virtually guaranteeing your paycheck. And so if they're let's say they're like my other guy that was like, oh, I want 20%. Let's say somebody comes to you and is like, oh, I want 10%. Be like, yeah, that's great, but here's the risk you got to take. Versus something like this, like, the risk is low. So what if you did it for like 7? Because the risk is so low, right? And so you do some math, 44,000 times 7%, 44,000 times 0.07. And again, I'm just throwing numbers out there, divided by 12. So it's $256 a month. So my question to you is if you could virtually guarantee your paycheck of $256.67 a month, how long do you want to make a virtually guaranteed payment of $256.67? Probably a long time, I would guess. That's how most people answer that question.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, and then no, that's gold. Like, that's perfect. I shouldn't have an issue finding someone to replace. So my question is,
Okay, yeah.
on
Sorry
the back.
for
No,
soapbox.
no, that was great. I didn't want it to end. Because I'll use all that too. But so my other question is now, how does that work on the contract for deed? Like, because I'm not gonna, well, the seller's gonna take over the house and the deed's gonna go into her name.
Because you're going to do like an all-inclusive style
Gosh, no, I'm still,
or contract for deed.
I still have to sit down and do, yeah, I have still to sit down and go get clear on contract for deed versus holding the note. But however I end up moving forward with that part.
So just do this resituation of the debt first. If you're going to do an all-inclusive style, is this a trust deed state?
Yes.
Okay. So if you're going to go switch out that trust deed anyway, because right now you've got a lender that's got money in on it, and they have a trust deed, and you want to get them out and bring in somebody new, just if you're going to do an all-inclusive trust deed style, just wait until you do the restructuring. Wait until you get this new entity, a new person, new lender, whoever, new money in there and pay off the old money, and then do the official closing with your client, the person living there. Now, if you do a contract for deed, what I've done is a hybrid contract for deed. Or I shouldn't say hybrid. I've done a two-phased contract for deed where I tell them like, hey, let's go ahead and do the closing. However, we're not going to record anything on public record yet because I'm going to restructure the debt first, and then we can record anything on public record that we need to. In a contract for deed, I mean, some people used to record the contract for deed. I don't like doing that because it like gives away all the personal information. And so nowadays, when I do a contract for deed, we just record a notice of interest on the property. And so just so sorry, what I was saying is when I do that, I basically just tell my client like, hey, we're not going to record the notice of interest until I've restructured the debt. And as soon as I restructure the debt, we'll record it. But yeah, if I remember right, though, this person's on like a lease option and you told them that you're already amortizing their payment. Am I mistaken on that?
Yeah, no, that's accurate. Actually, that
Okay, yeah.
would really.
So she's fine. Like, especially if she's not like freaking out about it, then just restructure the debt because
Yeah, but
your
it would
client's gonna
help
pay
me
you.
if I can do what you just said, because I have her down as putting money down, and I could use that for something else.
Oh, like she's gonna bring money to the closing.
Correct.
Oh yeah, then in that case, then yeah, say okay, let's do the two-phase solution where we go ahead and like structure everything, transact, she brings her money, and then you just say I'm gonna wait to record the notice of interest until I restructure the debt, but hey, you're already like your payment is secured, you're already amortizing, and because she paid it down, like her end of the bargain is done. Now you just have to fulfill on yours. And so you just say, all right, phase one is we go ahead and get everything situated for you. Your payment's locked in, all that kind of stuff. The balance of her contract is locked in, and then you go restructure your debt.
But we just don't hold on, I'm writing this
You just
down.
don't record anything on public record yet.
The debt. Okay. And do I get this now? Do I get this recorded with, no, do I do this this part through the attorney with paperwork, or just
You
like?
can. So here's what I do. I would probably do, I would tell her, I would sign two documents. A lease option, which I'm guessing you already have. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
However, she's going to bring more money. And so I would say, let's do a new lease option where you bring that money, but at the same time, let's do a real estate purchase contract. And so I know there's double contracting laws out there. This is not against any kind of double contract because a lease option is a contract of occupancy. It means they can occupy the property and they have the option to buy. A real estate purchase contract is a contract of performance. And so you can have both a lease option and a real estate purchase contract at the same time on the same house because they're different. One is performance and one is occupancy. So say, all right, let's restructure the lease option so that essentially she gives you the money that she's going to bring down. It changes her payment. Is it going to change her payment?
That's the third question if we have time. I have to figure out how to schedule these payments because my brain hasn't gotten that wrapped around that far yet. So
Okay.
I was going to ask if you could show me, but if not, that's okay. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
we got a few minutes.
okay, cool. It might change the payment a little bit, but I'm not sure yet because I haven't run the numbers.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what she wants?
As a payment?
Probably to lower the payment if she brings money. How much money is she going to bring?
$5,000.
Okay. What's her payment today?
$750.
Okay. So here, let me just share my screen. Let's see. Safari. Carl's mortgage calculator. So she has a current lease option with you. What was the lease option amount, the purchase price? Oh, did we
Sorry.
lose tomorrow? Oh, there.
No, sorry. Yeah. The purchase price was $64,000.
$64,000. How much money did she bring?
In the beginning,
Yeah.
she put $5,000 down.
Okay. What is her payment?
$750.
All right, you told me that, sorry. All right, payment is $750. So 64,000, 5,000 down. Principal of 59,000. 30-year. Let's just leave it at 30. Payment is 7. So her interest rate is effectively 15%.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Okay, based on those numbers. Well, does she include taxes and insurance in that? Or who pays taxes and insurance right now?
I do.
Okay, cool. So that is true principal and interest. Okay, so here's where she's at right now. She's effectively paying 15% interest based on these numbers. So if she brings another $5,000 down, makes that 10,000. Oh, I need to change a different, sorry. All right, 5,000, and then let's change this back to payment. And then we say 10,000. So if you basically just follow how it is now and say, okay, if you bring another $5,000, that drops your payment from $750 to $686.
Huh.
Make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
Is that satisfactory to you?
Yeah. I basically told her payments are going to stay the same.
Oh, okay. Well, then yeah, do that. So here we go. So what we're gonna do then is leave that there, and she brings $10,000 down. And so the balance goes from 64,000 down to 54,000. The interest rate technically goes up to 16.5% now, but the payment stays at 750. Making sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. It's really high. Is that really high? Should I feel bad about this?
I mean,
Would the term change on this from 30 years from the amount of time that's already been paid or no?
Ooh, good point. So how many years has she already gone?
2 years on the lease option.
Okay, so oops, let's do 28 years. And we want that to be 750 still. So it drops a little bit. But yeah, so you can say, okay, yeah, 20-year amortized. And you can say that's why the payment is going to stay the same because I'm gonna re-amortize it and a lower amortization. In other words, you'll pay it off faster than resetting the loan to another 30 years. I mean, technically the interest rate looks like it still goes up, but your balance is lower at the end of the day. And so if she's cool with that payment still of the 750, then here you go. I mean, last time I did one like a small one like this, I think I charged like 24% interest.
Okay.
It was a mobile home. That it was on a 5-year amortization. And so they'll pay it off in 5 years. But yeah, I was 20 some odd. I don't remember exactly. It was mid 20s. I know that on the interest rate. And so it's not unheard of on smaller ones like this. Because at the end of the day, like you look at it and say, okay, well, what would this house rent for? Yeah, total. I mean, it's not like you're gouging even, you know, maybe she's paying less than what it would rent for. So good deal,
Yeah.
potentially.
I was going to ask, so what's the motivation to pay more money if the
I
payment
know.
stays the same on
I
their
was going to
end?
ask that. If she's willing to do it, then I don't ask questions. But
What's the motivation? What?
what's was it Missy? Missy
Yeah,
said,
so for
what's her motivation?
your renter, what's her motivation for bringing more money if the
To give you
payment stays
another
the
5
same?
Um, I don't know.
Seller
I mean,
financing,
oh yeah, the seller financing.
securing her
Yeah.
interest in the deal.
Yeah. To be
Or
honest,
and her impression is she's paying it down.
Yeah, because her balance lowers. She
yeah.
secures her interest in the deal instead of just the lease option. You know, so I can see that there's value there and say,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, payment stays the same, $5,000 less on balance, 28 years on the amortization, and we secure your interest in this property, no longer a lease option. Like this is your house now. And so that's valuable to people. I mean, it'd be valuable to me, I guess. If
Right,
it's
that
like,
part makes
okay,
sense.
yeah, now this is my house.
And if they've
Yeah.
already paid 5,000 in 2 years, maybe their internal idea is thinking that each year, couple years, they're gonna knock a chunk off.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're thinking they're doing velocity banking in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so something like that. Again, if she's cool with this,
Yeah. I mean,
Otherwise,
essentially,
looking
you
at this
sold it on
calculator
payments.
is amazing. And
But
it's actually scary how much someone would actually pay for a home value this low.
yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, and I love this Carl's mortgage because if people were following along, you could see that I can change all of these different numbers here. I can say, oh, I want to control the payment, or sorry, no, I want to find out what the payment is going to be if I change rate, down payment, years, that kind of stuff, or I want to know what the interest is going to be if I control the payment and the rest of these parameters. And so you can choose which one do you solve for X, basically, interest, years, or payment, or even principal. And so, for example, like I had a guy, I was selling a house on seller financing, and he kept saying like, "Oh, I want 3% interest. I want 3% interest." And so I would come in here and say, "Okay, fine. If you want 3% interest, let's change that to 3. I want the payment to be 750." And so we solved for principal essentially. And so I said, okay, you know, let's just use this example. Let's say I was selling the house for 100 grand and they're like, "Oh, I want 3% interest." I say, "Okay, well, I'll sell the house for 180,000, give you your 3% interest, and the payment will be 750." And so essentially they can be like, if to them the most important thing is that interest rate, like, okay, yeah, I'll give you 3%, but here's how we're going to change the rest to get what I want. So if you want 3%, I want 750. And so we just have to solve for X. Or let's say they're like, "Oh, no, I'm not going to do 180. I say, "Okay, fine. We'll do amortization and say, let's change this back down to like 100,000 and say, "Okay, fine. 750. We'll do a 12-year amortization, $100,000, 3% interest." I mean, this isn't as great of a deal for me, but because you'll only pay that for 12 years. But I'm just showing you what you can do here. I wouldn't do this deal, but but I would do, let's see, let's go back to the principal. Do the 28 years, and that bumps it back up to that, or let's change that to 750. Bumps it back up to that 180. And so effectively though, you can tell them that, hey, this is technically saving you money, because if all I do is pre-amortize and say, oh, instead of 100 and I do 180, all I've done is just pre-amortize some of that, but you're only paying 3% on that versus I was trying to get 8 or whatever, or in tomorrow's situation, I was trying to get 15. And so you can say overall, you will save a bunch of money doing this. In fact, here, I'll show you what I mean by that. So right now, let's screenshot or just remember the total pay is 250 with interest of 82. So let's just look at this total pay right here, but then let's change this back and say, oh, what was it, like 16.5, I think it was. Okay, here, let's solve for interest, because this was 64,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, 64,000, 10,000. Change this to the 750 again. Oh, it's the same. 28 years. And so it was 252 before, wasn't it?
Hold on, I took a picture. Hang on. 215.
Was it 250?
When
I
you
swear it
had
said total pay of 250 here. Let's change this back. Solve.
Did he take it at 28 years or 30 years?
I left it
I
at
don't know if that
28.
make a little bit of a difference.
it was 30 years, but at 30 years it was 215.
30 years. I was gonna say, because at 30 years it'd be more.
Huh.
267. So 28. But yeah, for some reason I want to say I thought it said exactly 252 again. But so you could show them like, hey, it's the same. Like, I'll give you your interest rate of 3%. I want my payment of 250 or 750. And so we'll just pre-amortize and change the purchase price to the 180. And at the end of the day, it's the same. Like total pay 250. However, if you pay it off faster, technically they can save more money. And you can tell them that. But anywho, but it's cool because if you pre-amortize that, you get paid off faster. You get paid off the pre-amortized amount faster, really boosts your bottom line. Because instead of getting paid over 28 years, yeah, it's good for you. I'll tell you that. Do it. If that made any sense.
Yeah. Can we throw in another example of numbers?
Sure. I do have to. My assistant had her baby, and so I gave her some maternity leave, and so I'm like a one-man show right now. So I've got a bunch of deals closing, and so I got to get busy. But yeah, is it a quick one?
Yeah. And I just want to see. I think I get this
Go ahead.
calculator now. So this is what you do every time you put in figure out numbers for a property. You're
Yes and no. Anymore, I really just tell them, hey, here's what it's going to be. Because oftentimes they'll just be like, okay, cool. Really, it's only the people that are like super educated on amortization charts that want to play with these games. Like I tell you, to put it this way, when somebody tries to fight me on rate, because usually I just kind of act like the bank, I shouldn't say like the bank, the same way the bank just says, here's your interest rate. I just tell them, here's your interest rate. But if somebody starts fighting me on it, like, oh no, I want it to be this, then I'll start playing with these numbers. Yeah, I start playing with all these different solve for X kind of stuff. Like, okay, fine. If you want your interest rate to be lower, then we're going to amortize at this. Or if you want your interest rate to be lower, then we're going to, mess with years or payment or whatever. Payment's going to stay the same, kind of a thing. And so, not very often. essentially, because most people don't get this kind of stuff.
Right.
Like vast majority. I feel like I remember one, maybe two times that it was a big deal to somebody.
All
And
right,
I've
wait,
done dozens upon dozens.
let's do it real fast.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
The property value is 140.
Okay.
The down payment for the lease, same thing, lease option was 3,600.
Ooh.
And
100, right? So 3,600 small.
yeah, and actually it's gonna end up, they just had to renew their option fee, so it's gonna be about 5,000. You just put 5,000.
Okay.
So now what did you, so their current payment is 1,200.
Okay. Let's do 30 years. Okay.
So if I wanted to increase the interest, what would I do? Just go up to that top bar and increase the interest? Like, how would you do, what would you do with
Yeah.
it? Let me ask
So
that.
right. Well, I guess it depends on what I want. You know, what are my, at the end of the day, what are my costs?
Right. So I'm paying a mortgage and I should probably try to refinance this. Oh, actually it's at a 6, but it's an ARM. I'm paying approximately, let's just say, I'm paying high for this. No, 900, but that's interest and insurance. 900, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So do you know what your taxes and insurance are?
Yeah, insurance and taxes are approximately 1,200, 1,100 and 1,200.
Per year?
Yeah, each, yeah.
So 1,200, 1,100. It doesn't really matter which one we choose. Okay, so so at the end of the day, their out the door payment to convert it to seller finance is like, oh, congratulations, now you're an owner, you're building equity. You also pay for taxes and insurance. So their payment jumps from 12 to 14, assuming their payment stays the same. If that's the goal.
And my payment goes down, right?
Well, your payment stays the same
Oh,
because
yeah.
they pay you taxes and insurance and you pay your bank taxes and insurance. And so it's a wash. But
Got it.
essentially though, if you're paying 900 and yours includes taxes and insurance, now theirs is 1,200 plus taxes and insurance. And so their new payment is 1,421. So you're cash flowing $500. Yeah, 900 to 14. Yeah. So you're a little over $500 on your situation, your cash flow, basically. If that
Oh,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, got it.
And so
Okay.
even if you just said, oh yeah, your goal is to keep a payment the same, you know, again, if $500 a month is worth it to you for whatever you need to do to rearrange anything if needed, then yeah, good deal. 500
Yeah.
bucks a month, especially if you're like, oh, I don't have to bring any cash or anything like that. 500 bucks a month for low capital contribution. Sure. Don't mind if I do.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. This is super helpful to see this calculator in action.
Yeah, absolutely.
So awesome. Okay, my apologies. I got to get busy and get back to some of these deals closing.
We need to get busy too, Daine.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you so much.
Get
Thank
busy.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're the best.
Thank you,
Dane.
Michael.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Michael.
Thanks.
Hey,
Have a
see you
great day.
guys soon.
Bye-bye.
Take care for now.
Thank you.
Bye.